Good morning and happy FriYay. Which button can I press? No, wrong button. Is that a happy Friday one? No.
10.
No, that's the wrong one. I don't know what button to press. Good morning and happy FriYay. It is Friday. It is the best day of the week. Well, actually, maybe Saturday is the best day. Which day is the best? Whatever day you're in is the best day. But this is certainly the best work week day because I'm not working tomorrow. It means you won't be hanging with us, but we get to have fun for one more day until we, call it quits for the week. What are we doing here? This is Ask a Traffic Cop, and my name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police constable with the Toronto Police Service. I go on social media to answer your traffic and police questions. If you have questions, you should be asking them here because this is how it works. You ask the questions, we answer them, and everybody's happy. And, usually. If you want to interact with us, we are currently broadcasting on a number of platforms. You can find us on TikTok, of course, Instagram Live, YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, basically everywhere that people are. We've never been on Snapchat. Should we be on Snapchat? I don't know. Is that still a thing? I don't know. If you want to ask us questions on Instagram, you can use the Q&A function. I wish you could use the Q&A function on TikTok, but it's been broken for 3 months, at least for myself and for Aaron. I don't know. We ask, it doesn't get fixed. If you want to ask us questions, you can certainly leave your message in the chat on TikTok. And I have friends, CJ and Q, are putting messages into the window so we can see them. So they will bring them to our attention. Additionally, you can use YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, or Facebook to simply ask the question in the inside of the live view. It'll be on my screen and we will see it. However, if you're on Twitter, you can't ask us questions because it is also broken since they got rid of Periscope and went to Twitter Live. Yeah. If you want to get questions to us in a different way, you are more than welcome to use our Volley space. Volley is a free app that allows you to send me video, voice, or text messages. You can even send attachments. To get there in the most easy to explain way is go to www.trafficcop.ca. That will just direct you over to the Volley space, and you don't have to do those hard to remember names and URLs with slashes and uppercase, lowercase business. Okay, before we get into your questions, let's talk about Vision Zero Enforcement Team. Where are they? What are they doing? What are they for? We talk about it every day. They are a dedicated group of officers who focus their efforts on changing driver behavior one ticket at a time. They look for the big four. Those are the people who are speeding, aggressive driving, distracted driving, or impaired driving. And why? Because those behaviors, those choices that drivers make to conduct themselves that way, well, with those things, those lead to the most serious of injuries and death on our road. We want to keep people safe. We want to keep all people safe, not just drivers, but vulnerable road users. The people who are walking and riding and skateboarding. Yeah, them too. It's important. If you make a choice to conduct yourself and break the law and make the roads unsafe, they're looking for you. If you don't want to meet them, don't break the law. If you are watching this live stream and you think others would benefit from it, people that haven't seen us, haven't heard of us, or just haven't woken up yet, send them a message. You can double tap the screen, you can like, you can forward, and that would help us out. Not because we make any more or less because you're watching or not. We just want to help as many people as possible. And if you've got questions, so do other people watching. What do we got here? A whole bunch of people coming in from YouTube. Big Jeff Fresh with a happy FriYay to most and good morning, or to most and good morning. Okay. We got Leo wife, who is my wife, with a good morning coming in from YouTube. And then we've got Jacob coming in from YouTube. Good morning, Jacob. Jacob met me in person when we did an event on Tuesday. It was the 9th annual Tim Hortons Community Safety Day. And Jacob came by to say hello. Let's see here. We have Akila Draconis with greetings and salutations. Always a pleasure. All right. Something I could talk about right off the bat because I saw a message coming in from Twitch. And the question, thanks to Q forwarding it, is do you have any recommendations for college classes to get you closer to being a cop? We are hiring. The Toronto Police and many services are hiring right now. If you'd like information on how to become a police officer, check out www.tps.ca/careers. That will get you to our employment or talent acquisition page, and it has every bit of information, all the stuff you ever wanted to know about becoming a police officer. So if that sounds like it's interesting to you, then check it out, because we are looking for good applicants. Now, in terms of courses that you can take to jump in and better prepare yourself, any education is good education. You don't have to take law enforcement specific courses because you can become a more unique candidate by having something else. I always use the accounting angle. If you get a background in accounting or have skills, that would then make you a better applicant, a more diverse applicant, and bring skills and abilities that we may not have. You make us a better service. So there you go. Okay, Ryan wants to know, why does Germany have less road fatalities than Canada with higher speed limits, Autobahn, and less regulations? Well, I don't know if you're accurate exactly. Autobahn is something that people always throw at us when we say we should be increasing the speed limits. Well, first of all, it's harder to get a license in Europe. There are stricter guidelines. Additionally, the Autobahn has speed limits, and it is strictly enforced, both electronically and by police officers. So if in populated areas, the Autobahn has speed limits of 80 to 130 kilometers. Again, very strictly enforced. When you talk about the areas that have no speed limit, well, they have no speed limit, and when crashes occur, they are wild, huge debris fields, because cars aren't designed to explode at the way they do at high speed. Most collision safety checks are done like 5 kilometers and in that range for low speed collisions. That's what bumper ratings, low speed. Anyway, okay. Do you have to stop for a school bus if there's an island between you and the bus? The answer is, if it's a divided highway, you stop for, you cannot pass a school bus if it's divided by a barrier or island or what have you. But if you're going the other direction, then no, you don't. Now, it's the same thing for emergency vehicles. If it's a divided highway, you're not expected to stop for oncoming emergency vehicles. They can't come to your side of the road. But if it's undivided, where there is just a painted line, then you would have to. Same thing for school buses. You have to stop. Hope that answers your question. If you got more, keep them coming. And I see, what is this? Oh, so Von Braun has questions, but you put it in the chat as opposed to the Q&A function. So it's easier when it's in the Q&A. Why doesn't Toronto consider creating a public-private partnership for traffic management? Well, there is the city has traffic wardens. So there is a non-police, they're special constables, but the Highway Traffic Act does require certain powers in order to direct traffic as opposed to just using private companies. That's not my area of specialty, but that's what I know happens to be, that's my personal knowledge of it. So if I was not complete in that, it's because that's not my department. All right, let's get some other questions here. Thanks to CJ for bringing them forward. Is lane splitting legal in Ontario? That is where motorcycles travel in between 2 lanes, like down the dotted line to have people go faster. That's careless driving. That's unsafe maneuvering. Depending on what the observations are, it could even be stunt driving because you're traveling well beyond the speed of traffic flowing. So if you're zipping in and out of traffic unsafely, it could be stunt, could be careless, could be both. At the end of the day, don't do it. It's not safe. What should a driver do if a car seatbelt won't fit over them due to being too big? Well, you can't not wear a seatbelt unless you have an exemption medically, which you might be able to get from your doctor. You can also get something called a seatbelt extension, which are legal. I used to wear one when I would get in. I had a difficult time buckling the belt because my gun was right there. So I got a seatbelt extension from the manufacturer. So that is a thing you can do. There are options. And regardless of medical exemption or not, a seatbelt is the best thing to make sure that you aren't ejected in a collision. It is a huge benefit to be used while you are driving. I would not drive without one. That is my personal thing. Okay. What do we have here? Can I fight a no muffler charge? How? If you have no muffler, good luck. No, if you have no muffler, you have no muffler. I mean, you can certainly take it to court, but how do you defend yourself? Like, you don't like mufflers? The muffler fell off and you chose not to fix it? I don't know what kind of defense you'd have, unless your vehicle was manufactured before muffler laws were there. Then you would be exempt. Boom, boom, boom. If it's legal to have tint in the USA and you're pulled over in your province, do they get a ticket? Depends. If you're talking about unsafe vehicle, it's unsafe to be here, whether it's a law there or not. So if the vehicle has blacked out windows and that would be something that would be considered unsafe, then yeah, they can be charged here. If you're talking about tint possibly on a light grade, would you be ticketed? You could be. It's still considered unsafe. There's no exemption. So if you're visiting here, you still have to abide by the rules. Now, that's different than saying, well, let's say they're from a state that only has one issued license plate. Can you get a ticket for not having 2 license plates? Well, that's different. But safety stuff is safety stuff. Can you imagine being turned away at the border because your tinted windshield? It could happen. It's unsafe for the province. As part of your duties, do you ever monitor the web for groups that set up for causing road trouble? Not something I do, but there's definitely a law enforcement presence on the internet. There's definitely people report things all the time. It's not to me. That's, again, a different department. But, yeah, bad things on the internet, definitely police are monitoring. What is this? Wondering if classic cars have exemptions on exhaust noise. It's not so much on the noise. If you're creating unnecessary, ridiculous noise, you're still eligible for a ticket, but you don't have the requirement of having a muffler. But if your vehicle's obnoxious, it's obnoxious and you can still be charged. A lot of the obnoxious noise is based on behavior. A loud vehicle may be loud, but may not be beyond what's reasonable. But if you decide that you are revving and showboating, then that's behavior, and that's something you cannot be exempt for. Sitting at a red light, an emergency vehicle turns on their lights. What do we do? Nothing. Well, it depends. You would be required to move to the edge of roadway or nearest curb, and if you cannot move because it's gridlock, you don't do anything. You cannot go through an intersection just because somebody behind you wants to go. And I'll tell you, as a police officer, we would not activate our lights until there was somewhere for you to go, because we don't want to create panic and have you do something, and then we'd be responsible for it. Oh, I knocked the microphone, sorry. All right. Are there speed limits for cyclists? On the highway, on the road, that the charge of speeding doesn't apply. But in parks, there are speed limits for everyone, and in Toronto anyway, and the speed limit is 20 kilometers an hour. It doesn't matter if you're in a car or in a bicycle or on rollerblades. Nobody can exceed 20 kilometers an hour. Let's see here. Oh, Hezo. Can you do a wheelie with the motorized vehicle on the street? A motorized vehicle is a motor vehicle, and if you wheelie a motor vehicle, it's stunt driving. If you stunt drive, you can be charged. So stand by. I need to get some water. I got my water. Okay. Let's see what we got here. What is this? Scrolling, lots of scrolling. Can you pull someone over for going 5 over the speed limit? Can I? Yes. I can pull you over for doing 1 kilometer over the speed limit. I can pull you over for doing the speed limit because I'd be investigating for other reasons. But yes, speeding is any amount over the speed limit, because the speed limit is the limit. It's not a minimum. So yeah, speeding bad and illegal. How long do you have to renew your license once it's expired before they make you start over? Actually, that's depends. It depends on how far. I think 3 years is at one point, 10 years is another. Depends on how many levels you have to do. Some things require eye tests. Some things require starting over. I think 10 years is starting over from scratch. I looked this up a long time ago. I don't remember the stats or the specifics. You'd need to check with the MTO, or at very least drivetest.ca for the details, because I'm not looking it up right now. How are international drivers using an IDP, not Canadian or American issued speeding tickets? Do you have to pay them on the spot? No. They're issued a ticket. If they choose not to pay for it or deal with it, what would happen is they would be considered suspended here, and if they were still driving here, they would be charged for driving suspended. I don't know if they send a bill or anything to their home country, but certainly they would be suspended here and charged accordingly if they continue to drive here. What do we have here? Some new cars have factory taillight tints. Any adjustments with ticketing? Well, if it's a manufactured vehicle, that's not a taillight tint. That's the way they manufacture it, so that's very different. If it's manufactured that way and met the requirements to be on the road, and manufacturers make things legal, they have to. If they make things that aren't legal, well, it's not legal. They can't sell the vehicle here. They have to meet the minimum requirements for licensing here. So, a tint that's applied aftermarket is different than a factory device that looks to be tinted. Do police pull over cyclists if they are caught not stopping for a stop sign or light? Yes. I have charged many cyclists for that, because they're breaking the law and they're required to follow the law. And it really upsets the cyclists when I say that they're responsible for traffic safety, as are all road users. Yeah. So we do pull them over. We do charge them. What do we got here? Can you, what is this? If you're a passenger, do you have to provide identification? Not unless you're being investigated for a Highway Traffic Act or criminal offense, or there may be another reason. But generally, I don't pull over the driver and ID everybody in the car. That's not okay. If you're not wearing your seatbelt, or I believe you're not wearing your seatbelt, and I require identification at that point, then yeah, you don't have to necessarily provide me with a driver's license, because you may not be licensed, but you have to satisfy me as to your identification. If you refuse to, you can be arrested, just like a driver. And for anyone watching, please don't spam. We're doing our best to get through the chat, but if you ask the same thing repeatedly, you will be ignored or muted. And yeah, it's just not playing fun with others, friendly. Yeah, you know. Question coming in from Instagram. If you have dark tints on front two windows, can you drive with the windows open? Barry, I think you asked that yesterday. Thank you for asking again. If we never see the windows, is it against the law? It won't be an issue. Technically, could your vehicle be safety? No. If it was too dark, it would be unsafe. And if we saw them up on the road driving, it would be illegal if it was too dark. And you could lose your license plates for it. We could pull them and have your vehicle be required to have a safety performed. Okay. What are the rules for electric scooters? Well, it depends what you call an electric scooter. If you mean a stand-up, two-wheel, skateboardy kind of deck in the middle, no seat, that's an e-kick scooter if it's battery-powered. They're prohibited in Toronto because every municipality has to opt into that pilot project being operated by the province. The deal is they have to be not capable of exceeding 24 kilometers an hour on a flat surface. If they do exceed 24, they're illegal. They're motor vehicles. You require license, ownership, and insurance. If they have a seat, they're motor vehicles and require a license for motorcycle ownership, insurance, etc. So the rules are pretty simple. They have to have no more than a 500-watt engine or motor, I should say. What else can I tell you about them? And they have to follow all the rules just as a bicycle would. What is this? Can you explain turning left at a two-way stop, please? People need to understand. I don't understand what the question is. What do you mean turning left at a two-way stop? Like you have a cross-through intersection, or you have a road that's intersecting with a main street, and you want to turn left? What is the question that you want me to explain? If you can explain your question, I can explain an answer, but I'm not picking up what you're putting down. I had issues with people stealing registration stickers. Can I use a cover? Well, in Ontario, we don't have registration stickers anymore, and no, you cannot use a cover. What the best advice back in the day when people had stickers was to use a razor blade to create some small slices so that if they peeled it, it would come up all together. Also, not to make a mile-high mountain of stickers, which people also used to do, by putting 25 years of stickers one on top of the other. It made it very easy for someone to remove the entire stack without damaging it, and then people used them inappropriately. Okay. If you witness reckless driving and have proof of it on Dashcam, can you send in the footage? You can make complaints. We have a website on tps.ca/core, C-O-R-E, and you can actually make a report about a specific vehicle, and you can link to footage if you have it on a Dropbox account or if you have it on YouTube. Whether or not we can lay charges is a different story. It really depends on what kind of information is provided, how it's obtained, if we can identify date, time, location, the person driving. We might be able to lay charges. At very least, we can create a report which then stays with that vehicle. So if they're seen again, multiple reports, or they're involved in a collision, and we pull up their plate and we see all these reports from the members of the public of all this horrible behavior, it means something. Okay. Let me see what we got here. Can you harness in your car 5-point harness? No. You cannot put a 5-point harness in your car for street use. I mean, you can install it. You just can't use it on the road. You have to leave your OEM, your actual factory seatbelt in place. It's illegal to remove it. And if you were to wear your seatbelt, your 5-point harness, you have to wear your seatbelt over it in order for you to be wearing a seatbelt, because it's not recognized as a seatbelt. It might be track safe or permissible, but it's not street use is permissible. What do we got here? Can motorcycle helmet laws be enforced when certain groups are exempt for religion? Yes, because if you're not exempt, you're not exempt. And we can still enforce it because it's a law. And there are exemptions, just like seatbelts. There are certain people who are exempt. And if you're not one of them, you have to wear one. Simple as that. We covered this. Boom, boom, boom. Jacob wants to know what the most common excuses I hear about speeding. You know what? They're excuses. They're not legitimate reasons. And at the end of the day, we had this question, I think, yesterday. Very often it's bathroom, or I'm late for work, or I didn't realize, or fortunately nobody says, I was on my phone, I didn't pay attention. But yeah, I don't have a good list of favorite excuses. Is it illegal to drive barefoot? No, it's not. Not in Ontario. It could be illegal elsewhere. However, it's not illegal here. Okay. Just a quick question. What to do if we lost our license in a different state? Well, if you're in the States and you're an Ontario licensed driver, if you're suspended there, you're suspended here. I don't know how it works in the United States, state to state. It might be different there. So you want to find out from your home state to find out if they will follow suit, or if it's really just in that state that you're suspended. Now, if you're suspended in Ontario and we report to your home state or province, then you're likely going to be suspended where you are too. It's not just about being suspended in one area. So even one area will suspend you, but everyone acknowledges that suspension. And that's the way it should be. You shouldn't be able to drive somewhere else once being suspended elsewhere. So if you were to be suspended in New York City and come back to Ontario, we'd say you're suspended. Do international license holders collect demerit points? We would, you know what, I don't know. Maybe they would report it back, but I don't know what their systems are in whatever country they're from, so I couldn't tell you that. Now, if you are an international license holder and you're operating a vehicle here as a visitor, that's one thing. If you decide to move here, and you can't continue using your international license. Your foreign license is only good for 60 days after you become a resident. And if you're visiting long-term, even if you're not a resident, you can still only use that for a period of time. Is it legal to have an eyebrow tint on your windshield? How far can it come down? So the deal is that if you can only have brow or sun strip on your vehicle if it was manufactured before January 1st, 2017, i.e. 2016 or older vehicles can have 3 inches or 75 millimeters from the top of the windshield. That's it. That's all. Beyond that, you are breaking the law. Now, if you do have tint on your windshield, that is something that can have your license plates pulled. We'd return them to the ministry for an unsafe vehicle, and you wouldn't be allowed to drive. So whether it be a tint strip or the entire windshield, if your vehicle is 2017 or newer, you are an unsafe vehicle. Unsafe vehicle. What about jaywalkers? Are you guys going to have a booth at the CNE? We do not have any plans at this time to have a booth at the CNE. We have lots of officers working the CNE and doing paid duties there and helping out, for finding lost children and things like that. But traffic services, I won't be there. Although that would have been cool. Maybe next year. We'll have to see. Right next to the food building. Your pullover, are you legally allowed to pull over to the left side of the highway? So the rules are, you're to pull over to the closest curb or edge of roadway. Now, in many cases, there is no center curb, but as you say, the highway or the expressway will be a divided highway, and there is one there. We don't want you there. We want you to be at the safest place possible, which is normally the right-hand side, and we will give you direction. If you go in the wrong place, we're going to direct you to the right place. Now, there is a situation where the left shoulder could be appropriate. Let's say it was a very heavy, busy time on the highway, gridlock, and we need to get an ambulance or a police vehicle through. At that point, moving to the left shoulder would make a lot of sense because there's nowhere else to go. You create a path in the center and everyone gets through. But it really will depend on the situation. What do we got here? How much time can I get to apply for my lost front license plate? There's no time, or you need to go today. You lose it, make a report today, apply for it today. You just walk in and get a new one. There's no time. There's no exemption. You lost it today or tomorrow or yesterday or a month ago, you get a ticket. Simple as that. And if you haven't reported it, there's nothing to substantiate that you lost it at any time. So you make a police report, and if you make a false police report to try and create a situation where you don't need a front plate, we figured that one out too, and we charge you. Also, filing a false police report is another issue. You break down. How long can you leave the car before cops will tow you if you're out of the way? You can't leave a car on the road. Call a tow truck. They come pick it up. You can't just leave it there. If you're in the car, it's different than abandoning your vehicle. We will take it off the road. Can you drive if blind in one eye? Someone asked this question recently. I don't think that there is a requirement for binocular vision, but I don't know. And I'm sure many people are dealing with this because that deals with depth perception. Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know. But if someone looks it up, please let me know because I want to know. Let me see here. We talked about it before. I forgot to look it up. Depth perception, one eye. Is it a requirement? Can you become a cop right out of high school? Technically speaking, you can. The minimum requirements of that of grade 12 OSSD, but life experience. At 18 years old, you're not going to get hired. I won't say it's impossible, but I don't think it's likely. The average person being hired by the Toronto Police Service right now, I think, is 30 to 32 years old, average. Call it 31. We'll call it right in the middle of that. What do we got here? Are you allowed to smoke in the car with a 16-year-old in the car? A horrible thing to do, but technically there's no charge unless you're with children under 16 years old. So a 16-year-old would be allowed to be in the car while you smoke. I mean, you're poisoning them, but legally you could do it. What do we got here? In a construction zone, an orange sign says 30 kilometers an hour. Is the speed limit now legally 30? Orange signs are cautionary. They're suggested speeds. They're not enforceable. The white and black signs are the regulated signs. Those are the enforceable signs. How long do suspensions last on your record? A suspension is different than a criminal record. Suspensions show. I see all your suspensions. In terms of what an insurance company would see, I believe they see convictions, not suspensions. I'm not sure, though. In any case, suspension. I see, when I run your plates, I see your entire driving history since the day you got your license. And if you were charged prior to becoming licensed, I'd see that too. Is a neighborhood covenant enforceable? Like a covenant of witches? What kind of covenant are we talking about? I'm not familiar with that terminology. And can you explain the move over law? So slow down and move over is simple. You slow down and move over and give space for police, fire, ambulance, or tow truck operators to safely do what they have to do on the road. So if you see lights flashing, emergency vehicle lights, including tow trucks, slow down and move over. You want to give them as much room as possible. And that's it. And it's a pretty hefty ticket. What do we got here? Are you allowed to eat and drive? The rules are that it's not distracted driving, although in some provinces that might be distracted driving. In Ontario, it isn't. It could be careless driving, though. If you're eating a 3-course meal and you're weaving all over the road, you're obviously not paying attention to what you're supposed to be doing, which is operating your vehicle safely. So could you be charged? Absolutely. What do we got here? If you have a mud truck, not road legal, but have ownership, can you drive to secondary road with a slow sign? No, it's not road legal. So it's a mud truck, you got to trailer it. Are you allowed, we covered that. Do you need a third brake light on the rear of your car? Technically speaking, under the Provincial Highway Traffic Act, you only need one functioning brake light. You need 2 headlights, but 1 brake light. A manufacturer must sell you a car with 3 brake lights, but they don't have to function after they sell it. You only require the 1. I still think more is better because I don't want to be rear-ended by someone who didn't see the 1 that I had working. That's why I do circle checks and check my brake lights to make sure things work. Using reflective surfaces like, windows and walls. When I back up to them, you can press the brakes and see if both things are working. Someone talked about it, and I was a couple of shows ago, and I said, I used to take water bottles, the big 1.5-liter water bottles, and stick them together and wedge them into the brake pedal so I could go and look at the bulbs to make sure they were working. But later, I realized that pulling up to a building, backing up, or in front of a glass, looking at the rearview mirror, I could see if both brake lights worked because they were saying they couldn't check on that because they were alone. Okay. What is the speed limit in a street in a street with no speed limit sign. Generally speaking, it's 50 kilometers an hour, 50 for surface roads, 80 for highways. But there are areas that when you enter a city that will dictate. So if you enter the city of Toronto, it'll say that all streets that don't have a certain speed are X. So they will dictate what happens once you cross that sign, and you're responsible for what happens next. What if someone keeps high beam lights? Lights? I don't know why I said lights. What if someone keeps high beam lights? It's very hard to concentrate when someone is behind you. Well, it's against the law. They can be charged if they're within 60 meters behind you, I believe. 60 and 150. Did I make that up? I read it recently, and I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Okay. What? Oh, wait. Plate covers are illegal? Is that a question? Was there supposed to be a comma there? Yeah, plate covers are illegal. You can't have a plate cover of any kind. Not clear, not colored, not tinted, not fuzzy, not nothing. Nada. Can't have plate covers. Can an undercover officer consume narcotics to not blow their cover? I have no idea. I'm not an undercover, but I would assume so, but I don't know so. Otherwise, that would be like the first test. Here, do this. Aha, you're a cop. No, I assume they could. I don't have that on good authority, but I've seen a lot of movies. Okay. Are imported cars not subject to RIV, 15-year-old plus cars, still subject to some emission standards? So my understanding for right-hand vehicles, you can import them after 15 years. There's an exemption for certain import fees, I believe, but that's not something I have a lot of experience with. So I would check with someone who's really, really up to date on that, like a car importer. Get some help with that. If you move to Ontario, it might take time to get a permanent address. Can I get an extension on license change? Well, you need to have an address if you're moving. Otherwise, you're visiting until you get an address. And once you get you have 6 days. If you're moving from moving within Ontario, it's 6 days. Moving from another province, it's is it 30 or 60? I think it's 60. There's two different pieces of information. I've read it both ways. One might be registering your vehicle, and one could be licensing. Different times. Akela Dracona says, could you conceive of a legitimate excuse for speeding, like being chased by Mad Max? No, well, Mad Max was a cop, wasn't he? You pull over for the police. Are we required to have insurance for my trailer that I am using for garbage removal? I think you need to have basic insurance. It might be covered under your vehicle, but I think you have to have basic insurance for it. There might be, and Sergeant Campbell would be the right person to ask for this. But it's not it's the, hang on a second. I'm going to put a pin in that one. I want to ask Sergeant Campbell the question. Should I send him an email? He's not far away, but he's not close. Okay, 1 second here. We're sending an email to someone who I could yell down the hall, but I know trailers. Here we're doing trailers. Do you need insurance? I'm going to say no. I've rented trailers, but I don't know. Now I want to know. I have questions. I sent him the email. All right. What do we have here? Cigarette and driving. Okay. Cigarettes and driving are permissible. I mean, do people really smoke still? I guess some people do. I don't. I quit smoking like in 1999. Are spike strips prevalent in Canada? Not in Toronto. I don't know about other services. Can you explain them? We already talked about this. Any words of wisdom for someone taking their G2 test? We haven't talked about this in a long time. Tests, testing, licensing. Seems like everyone's, I guess the backlog must be done because we used to talk about it every single day. But the deal is that if you're going to take your G2, if you're going to take your G, get good sleep, rest. Go to the bathroom and make sure you've eaten something, both before you start your test. You don't want to be dancing or hungry and distracted during your test. And, make sure you're fed and watered. That's important. What else? Verbalize what you're doing. If you're doing a shoulder check, say you're doing a shoulder check. Let the tester, ensure that the tester doesn't miss out on any information. Hey, Sarge, Trailers. Do you have to have them insured? Like a small hauling trailer or an enclosed trailer? Do they carry their own insurance? They cover it under...
It does not have to be insured separately. It can be insured along with the vehicle.
By virtue of being connected to the vehicle, it's insured, or it has to be on the policy?
Depending on it does not have to have its own policy. It is covered,
Ah.
liability is covered by the vehicle that is hauling it. If you want to insure...
For comprehensive. Got it.
needs its own.
See, I knew you'd know.
Or a rider upon the original.
There you go. All right, so the answer is it is covered for liability under the insurance of the motor vehicle towing it. However, if you wanted to have comprehensive, like repair it if it was your fault, that's going to be its own policy. Or a rider on the original policy. Either way, yes, you'd have to pay something for that. So cool. Thanks again, Sarge. He knows lots of stuff. Specifically stuff I don't know about because I don't know. I don't trailer. I do occasionally trailer. It's like, yeah, borrowing trailer. I don't own a trailer. I don't have a place to put a trailer. But it's good to have friends with trailers. Thanks, Mike. All right. What is this? Oh. Why does sometimes emergency vehicles have lights only on without siren? Is there a difference? So, yeah, it's usually because they don't want to wake people up or disturb people, or they don't actually need someone to get out of the way because it's a clear track. So different policies and procedures. Police usually leave everything off unless we're actively telling you to get out of our way. Ambulance may have a requirement to leave their lights on while transporting patients, but only activate the sirens if they're legally required to, like going through an intersection or telling people to get out of their way. It just seems excessive to just constantly make noise all the time if there's no direct reason to. Plus, people ignore it. And on the highway, you don't even hear it. You have to be like one car length behind someone to hear a siren. And you look at an ambulance; they have like dual 500-watt sirens. Like it's a big deal. In any case, that's usually the situation. You don't put it on unless you need to. And what else? If I report a plate that was driving aggressively, will anything come of it? Depends. There may not be enough to charge someone because most offenses require us to see it happening by a police officer. But at very least, we'll be able to create a profile, add some notes. And when that behavior continues to come in, or they're involved in a collision, or they're pulled over for speeding, we would see that. So someone who drives aggressively all the time and we pull them over for speeding, we likely don't reduce those things or give warnings. We would likely charge based on all the information presented to us. What do we have here? Unmarked cruisers. Do we have to pull over if suspicious? Yeah, it's a police car. Unmarked or marked, if you see lights and sirens and you choose not to, that becomes a pursuit. You escalate the situation. If you're very concerned for your safety, beyond that of suspicious, call 911. I'm being pulled over by a car that I'm not sure is a police car. You can do that, or what I would suggest is simply pull over, not get out of the car, leave your doors locked, roll down the window enough to be able to speak to the officer, who will likely be in full uniform and not so suspicious once you see them. And you can tell them, I'm not sure that you're a police officer. Can you show me your badge and ID? You can ask that. If you were still not satisfied, you could call into dispatch and they'd be able to verify, because we're all GPS tracked. We know exactly where everybody is. That would be the way to go. Not pulling over, that's a good way to get more charges. If you're watching and you have no idea what we are, who we are, what I am, I'm Sean Shapiro. I'm a police constable with the Toronto Police Service. I'm on social media, in case you hadn't noticed, and I answer your traffic and police questions most of the time. Sometimes I phone a friend, like Sergeant Campbell, who has answers I don't have. In any case, we're here. It's FriYay, and the exhibition is open. That opens today. Are you going to the X? Just a little informal, quick poll here. If you're going to the X, yes, happy face. If you are not going to the X, sad face. I haven't decided yet. I saw an article that says $10 to get in, $15 for the whole weekend. I think it's open until September 5th. I think it would be cool to go. I might have to take the family. But yeah, I haven't been in 3 years because it hasn't been open in 3 years. So a lot of people say, majority of folks are saying no, they're not going. Is that because you're too far away or because you just don't like the X? I used to love the X as a kid. Except that one time I went on a ride, like a little tiny Ferris wheel for kids, and I guess I was holding on to the door as I got in and was getting comfortable, and the operator slammed the metal door on my fingers and then let me do the ride while my hand, it wasn't fun. So I have a negative association to rides at the X, just saying. What do we have here? Can you please explain having a cast in driving, such as a cast on the right side gear side? If a doctor thinks that you're unable to do it, they can put in a suspension on your license. But there's no specific, that I'm aware of, rule that cast on right or left side prevents you entirely from driving. Yeah. If you can do it safely. If you can't do it safely, that's a problem. So if my friend crashes my car, will I be held liable if they don't have car insurance? Yeah. It's your car, it's your insurance. Your insurance covers it. If they have their own insurance, you could be on a binder, use their own insurance to cover it. But at the end of the day, you're probably going to get screwed by them because nobody wants to pay for what they did. It's just a lack of responsibility the average human has. Don't lend your vehicle out is the best thing to do, especially if you don't want to get into a money situation with friends. It's just not good. It causes stress. It's much better to keep your own stuff. I'm particular. There's a very short list of people that I would let drive my vehicle, never mind borrow it when I'm not there. But I don't want to have that conversation about you owe me 50 grand for whatever they broke. It's uncomfortable. But generally speaking, it's going to be your insurance, and no fun. Like, good luck even getting the liability. What's it called? What is it called? Deductible. That's what it's called. Okay. Is there any way you can dim your lights when you have someone pulled over? No. Why? We don't dim our lights. We could turn it down to have less lights active, like just blinkers or flashing lights as opposed to the full stuff. That's possible. It all depends. But why do you want it dimmed? Do the lights hurts your eyes? What's going on? E-bike and traffic infractions, running stop signs or speed limits, can they be charged? Absolutely. And you can even be charged for impaired operation on an e-bike. You're responsible for following all the rules a cyclist has to follow. And if you have a modified e-bike, you're responsible for all the rules that a motor vehicle would have to follow, including having insurance. Why do you have so many monitors? How many monitors do I have? How do you know how many monitors I have? I'm currently looking at 4 or 5 if you count the little one on the camera up there. I'm looking at 2 cell phones, 2 monitors in front of me, and I have 2 monitors behind me. The monitors behind me are just there so you can see what they say, which is our current count of followers on TikTok. I thought it was better than having black screens. They're there. They used to be black. Now I turn them on. Now they're not. What is this? Do I pull over on the shoulder of a 100-kilometer highway when an emergency vehicle with lights on is approaching? You're required to pull over and slow down when you see lights and sirens, or when you hear sirens and you see lights. You are supposed to pull over. Now, if you start to pull over and they pass you, you're no longer required to continue to pull over because they're gone. So, generally speaking, making way and they pass you is sufficient. But based on the HTA, it says pull over to the nearest curb or edge of roadway and stop. A fire truck, ambulance, and police car arrive at a set of lights at the same time. Who has the right of way? You know what? I'm going to always let the fire truck and the ambulance get there first. It depends. It all depends. Are we all active with lights on? Because that's not part of your question. But otherwise, it's all about the first to arrive, first to drive. And if one person has their lights on, they're going to go because everybody else is obligated to stop and wait. I love the question. I just don't know why it keeps getting answered or asked, I should say. Am I allowed to drive a family member's car if not the secondary driver on the insurance? If you're a licensed driver and you are licensed for that class of vehicle, yes, you can operate that vehicle. You don't have to be on their insurance in order to operate it unless you live with them, at which point your insurance company or the insurance company on the vehicle might stipulate that you have to be on the policy, or may say that no one under a certain age or no one named Bob can drive it. Why are school zone speed limits enforced at night? Well, because it's a community speed limit that's set. And it doesn't, unless it has times, it's the speed limit. Okay. How does the Toronto Police call signs work? Is it like 5152 dispatch? So it used to be more complicated. Now I think it's pretty simple. Generally speaking, your first 2 digits are going to be your division. So if it's 5142, what'd you put here? If you said 5152, the first two digits, it's a 51 division car. 52 could just be in the sector or the random number that they chose to assign it. I don't know how they do it anymore when it comes to other areas. Maybe CJ can advise, but I am, when I was a motor squad officer, my call sign was 62. I was always Highway Motor 62. That was my call sign. It was mine and issued to me. Didn't matter what I was doing. But it's different. It's different in different divisions, and I've never assigned call signs, so I don't know how they do it. I know it's a terrible answer, but I just don't have a good answer for it. I think it used to be based on sector, and it's just been so long. So long. Is it illegal to refuse to ID? Depends on what you're talking about. Like if you're being investigated for criminal activity and you refuse to ID, you can be arrested. You have to identify. If you're driving a motor vehicle and you're obligated to comply with the demand for driver's license, it's one of the things. If you won't ID, you can be arrested. If you're a passenger being investigated for Highway Traffic Act or criminal, you have to ID. So if you choose not to, we can arrest you. So we can confirm who you are. CJ says sometimes it goes with the vehicle. Really? So you're like 5152 is if you're in car 52? Where are you? Interesting. If you're assigned 5246 and your call sign. Really? I didn't know that. Interesting. CJ came more recently from a different division, different experiences, and I can't remember the last time I was anything other than a traffic car. Let's see here. Can a 16-year-old with a G2 drive on 400 series highways? So if you're 16 with a G2, you must have lined up on your 16th birthday first day, because it takes 8 to 12 months to get your G2. 8 if you've taken a full course, and 12 if you didn't, which means that only a 16-year-old who has taken a course would be able to drive on 400 series highways. And yes, you could. If you have your G2, you can drive anywhere. Anywhere, absolutely. You can even drive in other provinces and the United States. All right. Are you taught the law when you apply and are selected to be a cop? So when you apply to become a police officer, you are sent to the Ontario Police College. You're also sent to the Toronto Police College if you join the Toronto Police. But you go and you learn stuff. They teach you stuff. You come out knowing stuff. Then you reference a lot of stuff, and then you do a lot of stuff. And when you do that stuff, you also learn stuff. And what I've done since that stuff is had a lot of conversations about stuff, which has really cemented a lot of this stuff. It's a lot of stuff, but it's constantly changing. So I continue to read a lot of stuff. But you don't have to know stuff before you become a police officer. But you have to be open to learning, definitely. Apparently somebody is trying to misinform people and endorse a dangerous activity in the chat. Thank you for letting me know about that. Don't do that. And for anyone watching, if you're listening to people in the room and they're telling you stuff that's silly, just know that they're silly. Okay. Liz on Facebook says, I was the one who mentioned that I do circle checks but can't always do brake checks. Yes, that's how conversation started. This is especially the case. I'm by myself during the day. I often ask my dad, a retired officer, to check for me, as he obviously knows the charges involved if I was pulled over for no brake lights. 100%. But after that conversation, I realized that what I've often done is pulled up to a mall where you have all those glass windows, and then you face the back of the you back up in front of a store, and you look at your rear view mirror, you press your signals, you press your brakes. You see them in the reflection. It works great. I don't know how I missed that little tidbit of that golden nugget the first time we spoke about this. My voice is not happy today. Okay. Alan says, good morning, Sean and moderators. Happy Friday. Happy Friday to you too. This is the winding down day. I'm feeling very, very chill today. Very low energy. I think it's because I have a tickle. Maybe I'm getting sick. Maybe I need to take a month off. Okay. Can you have colored window tint? Yes. You can't have reflective tint, but you can have tint in different colors as long as it meets the requirements under law. So you can't have more than well, 30% light blockage is the maximum for safety, but you can't prevent anyone from seeing inside the vehicle, public or police. Why? People always say, why? Why you got to see me? Because picking your nose is not something that is truly covered under this privacy thing. There's no reasonable expectation of privacy. No, it's because we have to see if you're wearing your seatbelts, if you're consuming drugs or alcohol while you're driving, if you're not paying attention. We have to make observations. Simply turning out the lights is not something you can do. What we got here? Niagara Regional Police was hiding in a bush, but forgot his rear emergency lights were on. Not a good hiding. Yeah, if you leave your flashing lights on while you're hiding, you might be telling people where you are. But maybe not all people. Maybe they were looking for specifically not so bright drivers that saw the flashing lights and ignored them. Okay. Liz has a question. Odd question, according to Liz. When I request a money order payable to the Toronto Police Service, the tellers often think it should be payable to Toronto Police Services with an S. Why is there confusion between Toronto Police Service and Toronto Police Services? You have just identified my largest, my biggest, my most annoying pet peeve. I cannot stand when people call it Toronto Police Services, and who are guilty of that more often than not? The media. We're here at Toronto Police Services. No, this is Toronto Police Service, singular, no plural. And I don't understand why that is. I guess it's a slip of the tongue. Maybe it's paramedic services, and they're used to saying paramedic services. Is it paramedic services? Did I make that up? Let me see. Now I got to look. Toronto Paramedic Services. They are plural. Yeah. That's probably what it is. You know, they speak about so many different things, but it really drives me bananas because I've never called it Toronto Police Services. Just doesn't sound right. And now we're probably going to adopt a new name. No. Okay. Alan, Sarge isn't in earshot, but I will pass the good morning to him when I see him next. Or if you were talking about the other sergeant who isn't here, Sergeant Kulik is elsewhere today. What do we have here? Is it necessary to be at least 5 years of permanent residency to apply for the police? Not that I'm aware of. Hey, Sarge, you got a message from Alan that says, "Hi, good morning, Sergeant."
A message from who?
Alan.
Ellen.
Alan Topple.
Oh, okay. Oh,
He says hello.
I say hello.
He says hello. Sarge says hello back.
I got a few minutes.
We'll take it.
I got a few minutes while I'm walking by. I can come and join. Can you turn up my headphone as well?
Turn it up?
Oh, there you go.
Okay. There we go.
My microphone's working.
Oh, there we go. This microphone. Yes. I had that microphone turned on, which you're not standing in front of.
Good morning, Sean.
Good morning, Sarge.
I got a few minutes. I can just walk by while I'm in the middle of doing something, but sit down and say hello to everybody.
Well, we greet you and thank you for your coming over to say hello. I had questions earlier. There was stuff that I didn't have answers for, and you weren't here. You did come by for the insurance one, but I have now since forgotten what the other questions are. Okay. What do we have here? We talked about e-bikes and traffic infractions for e-bikes. Can they be charged for stop signs and speeding and so on?
Absolutely.
Except the speed.
Except for speeding, yeah. An e-bike, well, unless it falls outside the criteria of what an e-bike is. If it goes faster than 32 kilometers an hour, it is now an electric motorcycle.
Yes, so
And
they would
charges?
be eligible.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And folks seem to be really shocked when we say that we can charge someone for impaired operation on an electric anything, except a wheelchair.
Right. So by definition, an e-bike is an electric motorcycle, 100%. The Highway Traffic Act, which is provincial legislation in Ontario, has created an exemption for certain parameters of it, a driver's license, vehicle registration, a safety, and insurance to allow them to operate on the road. But it's an exemption for certain criteria. If it doesn't fall within that criteria, or the driver has modified it to make it not fall within the criteria, it's a motorcycle. And all those charges, including a $5,000 first offense for no insurance, would apply.
I like it. We have questions. Are we going to be at the? Are you going to the CNE?
Probably. I like going to the CNE.
I haven't been in ages. Obviously, 3 years it hasn't been open, but maybe this is the year to go.
You know what? I probably won't be going in an official capacity unless unless they need work done there, which we are down there doing traffic direction and making it safe for everybody down there. But I may just go on my own just to have a look around.
I want to see some of the they have ketchup and mustard ice cream.
I heard it's soft serve ice cream.
It looks disgusting.
I don't know.
I have to try it though.
I don't know if I could.
Really?
Yeah.
I think I'd have to, just because.
I gotta say, I'm not a ketchup fan for the most part.
Really? I like mustard. I like ketchup just fine. I used to put ketchup on everything. So a little fact, a little nugget of interest. I was on the very first episode of Just Like Mom, like the pilot of Just Like Mom. So my mother and I were contestants, and one of the things that I remember her telling me stories about, and I have a vivid memory of this, is cooking. So it was a cooking show. You did a bunch of things. You had to come up with a list of things your mom would guess whose answer was their child's. And one of the things we did was cooking, and I made cookies with a lot of ketchup on them.
Mm-hmm. And did she pick you out?
Oh, she knew exactly. She knew exactly that, and I think I used C+. I think C+ was one of the C+ and ketchup. Yeah, I can't say that. I don't think I ate them. I don't think I would have been scarred for life. But all the parents get all the cookies and had to. Yeah, we came in second place, and we were quite happy with second place. I got a 7-pound Hershey's chocolate bar, a Kodak Instamatic camera, an alarm clock that I think I just threw out a couple years ago, and it was a good experience.
Wow, you're showing off your age.
Yes, and I didn't get a kiss from that creepy host.
So was that in black and white back in those days? Or?
No, it was not. But I think that's officially my first foray into television.
Oh, very good.
And, yeah. How do you deal with people with anger towards the police? John Walker wants to know.
You want to field that one, or do you want me to?
You know what? Well, either way. I mean, I can start off by saying that I think it's not personal. It's people who are dissatisfied with something going on that's bigger than me. It's not even me. It's the uniform.
Yeah, I would say the exact same thing. You know what? I don't need to get mad because I'm not doing it personally. It's my job, and because something probably bad is happening to you, either way, because you're having an interaction with me. I don't take it personally. I don't get offended. But I have a job to do. No matter how much you yell and scream, it's going to get done.
Yeah.
The manner in which it gets done is totally dependent on the person, and you know it's still going to happen either way. So there's no point in getting upset.
But it definitely, we understand that people, and we're sensitive to the fact that people aren't always going through good times when we're dealing with them. We're often seeing people at their worst times, or their best times, but very often their worst times. And sometimes that turns into anger, but it's not personal. So what do? We try and be compassionate, and we do our jobs.
You know what, and especially in the roles that we do here, traffic enforcement is all about safety for everybody. We're not out there getting people. We're hopefully out there saving people and educating people. So yeah, it could be a bad day if you get stopped and you get a ticket. You know your insurance is going to go up. You know it's going to affect your driver's license. But we're out there doing our job and hopefully making it safer for everybody else.
I got to thank the user I am pooped with a poop emoji who just followed us. And it's I have a smiling poop emoji staring at me right now. And I found that entertaining. I realized I started to answer a question that was asked, and that is it necessary to be at least 5 years permanent residency to apply for police? And I think that's when you walked in, I saw a squirrel and I didn't answer. And the answer is, I don't think you have a period of time. It might be beneficial for the purposes of background check and things, but as far as I know, the requirement just says permanent resident, not permanent resident of X number of days, months, years.
Yeah, I don't know that at all. I guess it all depends on your background, your status, and your status in Canada. I think that's for you.
Yeah, I think that's the staff sergeant at the front desk, and I'll call him right back in a few minutes because we're about to wrap the show. But I want to. I feel very guilty ignoring the staff sergeant downstairs, but yes. Okay, what do we have here? We had a couple of really good questions, but it is 11 o'clock and we're out of time. Rayan, who's asked a couple of questions before, but this one was good. He says I assume they say it's unsafe when police officers put flashlights on people's face during night traffic stops, especially when light-sensitive people like myself, you can't see for a good amount of time afterwards. I can see that being an issue, but at the same time, we need to be able to make certain observations. So that's a difficult position.
Yeah, including observations of your eyes, and we can't do that in the dark. Dilated pupils are an indicator of impairment, and we need to do that. If you're not able to drive afterwards, then wait till you are.
Yeah.
And that goes for any circumstance. If you're not capable and you don't feel that you're able to drive, stop, wait. Don't set your vehicle in motion until you can.
Here's another good question. If I want to mod my vehicle, what lights are illegal? For headlights, or do you mean like full vehicle lights? Because in headlights, you can only have white or yellow. You can have a maximum of 4 illuminated headlights to the front that are over 300 candela in power, which makes them projector headlights. I need to know more. What is it called? Underglow?
They have to be aimed properly.
Yes.
Talking about headlights, and they cannot be over powerful. Normal in North America is a 55 watt halogen low beam and a 65 watt halogen high beam. Each one of those come with a specific candela. I think that's the term
Yes.
that is used. And to go above that, or the equivalent of the LED, and to make it equally above that, would also be improper and illegal. Underglow?
Depends.
Depends.
Depends on how it's mounted. If it's mounted in such a way that you're not projecting light forward to the sides or to the rear, and it's only really directly down and illuminating by bounce off the ground, then it's pretty much legal. Just no flashing intermittent flashes of red light. I still suggest not using it unless you're parked. I think that's the safest thing. But can I charge you for it? I don't think I can charge you for it unless I can see the bulbs and you're projecting it in a direction that you shouldn't be.
Right. And underglow, it's...
1982?
Well, I was going to wait to say that was back in the time when you were trying out your TV.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's less cool than people might think. I had it on my motorcycle. I've since taken it off my motorcycle.
It might have been cool at one point, but...
Well, everyone did it. It's like riding a Harley, so you can look different like everybody else. Ooh, actually, I like Harleys. I like making fun of Harleys, even though I've ridden them professionally. What is this? What's the tally number behind your right shoulder? Behind the screen behind me is actually our follower count. That's a live count of of how many followers we have on TikTok. That just decided to turn off.
Here we go.
Oh, here's one. If someone cuts me off on my motorcycle, can I rev my bike since my horn's not loud enough? This is a question from Will. Here's the deal.
Were you doing it in angry?
An angry
anger?
rev.
Yeah.
So angry revving or revving in general could be unnecessary noise. It could be a situation of that is a problem. We would not want you doing that. Plus, it doesn't really work. Yes, you rev, you make noise. Most drivers are so out to lunch, and I say this with love. I've been on a police motorcycle and had to tap the window of the driver that I'm watching typing feverishly on their cell phone to get their attention. So you're revving your engine, you're just annoying the public. You're not actually doing much good for yourself.
And you know what? Your horn is made to a specific minimum specifications. Yes, some horns are a little less noticeable than others, but your horn is there for a reason. Use your horn. Don't use it unnecessarily. And I can quite honestly tell you, revving your engine, it just puts the noise out behind you.
And if you're driving, people say, oh, loud pipes save lives. If you're driving, Doppler effect means you're leaving that noise behind you. Police sirens, you need to be one car length behind someone before they really hear it. That's why there's special ones that work better.
And that's why it's pointed out the front.
Yes, amazing how
and
that
it
works.
still doesn't work that well. So,
Question coming in, is it true that if you go over 32 kilometers an hour, you need a license on an e-bike? Yeah.
So it's no longer an e-bike.
You're no longer covered under the legislation. You now need license, ownership, and insurance.
And safety and a helmet and everything else that goes along with it, road legal tires, everything.
Yeah, it's amazing how things change in a blink. And we see people on e-bikes that are doing 80 kilometers an hour. Those are absolutely motorcycles. Two last things. One's a really quick comment, or actually they're both really quick questions. Crystal wants to know if I would ever become one of the Golden Helmet police officers that drives the motorcycles. So I ended up in this position because I was a motor squad officer with the Toronto Police. We don't have golden helmets. That's the OPP. So I was even a member of the drill team, which is actually exactly what the golden helmets were. And I did that for the Toronto Police Service. And I would love to do that again. It's the most fun I've ever had. Okay, maybe next to streaming on TikTok. But, absolutely, that's something I love doing. It's the best part of my career. The other one is, are you new to streaming your podcast to Twitch? Are you new to streaming your podcast to Twitch? Commas matter. This is the first time I've ever seen a link for it. I know we've been doing this for quite some time. It depends if you were, when I started doing it, it was on the VoiceOver Cop Twitch channel, and then we eventually created a Traffic Services Twitch channel. I think I said that correctly. So one of them is saves the videos, and the other one, if it's not caught live, you don't see it. So that might be why.
And Sean, you're on a new platform right now, right? That you've just started up?
Well, we've started using, and no one's been in here today, but we are using something called Volley app. And Volley is a platform that allows you to ask us questions anytime. We have a space, it's community space. You can talk amongst yourselves, you can have conversations about anything, and you can ask questions that we'll answer as well. In fact, you can ask questions there and bump the line on the show. So if you want to check that out, visit trafficcop.ca. That is the way to get a quick link directly into that Volley space. Again, free. You do have to register. You can send us video, voice, text, attachments, whatever you want. It's actually really cool. I'm really enjoying it.
And you know what? I tried it for the first time yesterday, and I videoed back a question that came in, and the person got it right away and thanked me for it. It was awesome.
Instant notifications. Pretty cool. Okay, with that, we're going to say goodbye. We'll be back on Monday, I believe. But as I've been doing, ending the show with a magical little tune written and performed by Yukina Took. She's going to kill me because I messed up her username on Instagram. But it's Yukina Took. See you on Monday. Have a great weekend. Stay safe.
Bye, everyone.
Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow. Watch for pedestrians, look out for bikes, and don't drive like a jerk that no one likes. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Put down your cell phone, nobody needs you to text and drive on the DVP. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Stop at stop signs, look both ways, then go. Seatbelt, save your life indeed, and watch your driving. Don't speed. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Don't drink and drive or smoke some weed, because you might go to jail and not get free. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow.
Nine, 8, 7, 6,
As I
5,
lose myself in
4,
work, we're sending some
3,
emails. Have a wonderful
2,
weekend. Stay safe, everybody.
1, 0.